Thank you, Marty, for inviting me. I want to give a shout to Norm Friedland, who introduced me to the IvyFON. I have a PhD in chemistry from MIT, and I spent 40 years as a chemist developing first-in-class drugs, initially for HIV, but moved into cancer. I spent about 10 years in pharma and about 30 years in biotech and startups, mature biotechs, and been involved in M&A and all kinds of activities. I led research, discovered and developed drugs, but I was also CEO. And of my last company, we had an FDA approval of a cell therapy for bone marrow transplantation. Again, a first-in-class discovery. I thought I would retire last year, and I was wrong. I failed retirement because I joined Stand Up to Cancer. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Very good. Let me turn that into presentation mode. Just give me a second. And I've been involved with Stand Up to Cancer for 15 years as a scientific reviewer of teams that were funded by Stand Up to Cancer. And I was hired last summer. I had to go through a rigorous interview process, 4 Nobel laureates, and I was hired as a chief science officer last summer, and was demoted to CEO of Stand Up to Cancer in January. So I've been at this for about 4 months. And what I have been doing over the last 8 or 9 months is trying to evolve a strategy for Stand Up to Cancer. And I'll try to give you a little bit of our history. We've been around for 15 years, and I'll tell you about where we're going and refer, as Marty suggested, we had a very fascinating summit using AI in healthcare, and specifically cancer treatment. So first of all, our mission is to raise funds for research to detect, intercept, and treat cancers with the aspiration of curing patients. And that's a bold statement. If you have stage 1 or stage 2 disease, you have about a 90% chance of being cured. If you have advanced metastatic disease, you have about a 10% chance of being cured. And so the question is, can we detect cancer earlier before it becomes a raging fire? I am supported by a phenomenal scientific community. This is the Scientific Advisory Committee. I used to serve on this committee. It's chaired by Bill Nelson, who's Cancer Center Director at Johns Hopkins. Vice Chair is John Carpton at City of Hope. He is the Cancer Center Director there. And another Vice Chair is Arnie Levine. He's one of the premier cancer biologists who discovered tumor suppressors. And as you can see, we have about 40 different members of this committee, covering every aspect of cancer, every disease type, but also every technology. And this is a group that spans everything from mathematics, physics, biology, and medicine. And it's a very intimate group. You can see some of our numbers. We've funded over the years over 3,000 scientists, hundreds of collaborations, close to 300 clinical trials as well. The mission is to translate laboratory research into clinical trials that will illuminate problems in cancer. This is a look at our portfolio. There's really nothing we won't address. You can see there's quite a large investment in pancreas cancer, it being one of the most deadly of diseases. We've raised approximately $800 million over 15 years, but have leveraged that to over $1.5 billion to such that when the terms of our funding are complete, there's always a subsequent source. Typically, pharma or biotech will take the product, the discoveries made in phase 1 and phase 2 studies, and then run registrational studies.
Mute.
We have over 100 partnerships. As you can see, we work with foundations, academic medical institutions, pharma, and biotech. And literally, this allows us to further leverage knowledge, opportunity, and capital. We've had over the 15 years quite a number of breakthroughs, and I just thought to maybe highlight the most recent breakthroughs that we've had in the last 2 years. Third from the bottom, about 10% of rectal cancer has a unique genetic profile that is susceptible to immunotherapy. And Andrea Surchek at Memorial Sloan Kettering with Luis Diaz was funded. The first 12 patients that were destined to go to very difficult surgeries responded with 100% clinical response rate that's durable out multiple years. They now have over 50 patients, but the first paper was published in the New England Journal, 12 patients, 100% response rate with this particular genotype in rectal cancer. It's very rare to see. I've almost never seen anything this effective. We also have funded research that has led to an mRNA vaccine for pancreas cancer for patients who have had surgery and who are at risk for relapse. And we've seen some dramatic benefits and survivorship in about half those patients. That trial has now moved on to Genentech, who is now doing a randomized controlled trial, a phase 2 trial that will prove the point. And then in about 2 weeks, we're going to see first presentation at ASCO in Chicago, the American Society for Clinical Oncology, looking at a rare sarcoma in children. It's a randomized study where the kids will get radiation plus or minus immunotherapy. And then all I can say is the clinical trial met its primary endpoint, and that will be revealed and published in a very high-value journal in short order. So that's where we've been. Where are we going? And I'm making a bold declaration here that we're going to, fund research that will reduce cancer mortality by 25% in the next 5 years and 50% in the next 10 years. So it's quite a bold goal. And why do I say that? In certain diseases, we've actually been able to prove that if you can detect the cancer early in breast or prostate, you can see over the past 50 years, deaths have declined by over 50%. And there's no reason to disbelieve that we can apply this to all tumor types. Some will be much more challenging, of course. I've mentioned pancreas, but we know brain tumors or acute leukemias or ovarian cancer, notoriously difficult to treat. But we have new tools. It's the 21st century. We have new detection methods with increasing and improving sensitivity. And we now have immunotherapies, and including cancer vaccines. And in my spare time, I'm chairman of a cancer vaccine company that's developed a cancer vaccine currently in clinical trials, also in a randomized setting for the same population in pancreatic cancer of patients who had stage 1 or 2 disease, underwent surgery, but are at risk for relapse. So how does this work? We need to think about AI in the future. We will be multiplexing large data sets. You'll see what I mean by that in a moment. We will be developing increasingly better diagnostic and predictive tests using all kinds of technologies, including wearable tech devices. And we do need a tremendous amount of computer power. And we will need to raise large amounts of capital. This is a movement. This is a large mission to achieve these kinds of to meet our goals. And so possible partnerships may include companies with large employee bases and pension funds, life insurance companies, and of course, family office network. We have changed our charter from just a pure 501c3. We now have also deployed an impact fund. Sorry, I don't know why my computer is misbehaving. The impact fund can aggregate royalties for contributions made with research funding sponsored by Stand Up to Cancer. So to further delve into this issue, we had an innovation summit where AI in cancer research for diagnosis and treatment was the subject. We brought about 80 people from all across the US and Europe. We met at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View in Silicon Valley and spent a day probing the myriad ways in which we can approach this activity. And then we broke up into different groupings. One group discussed diagnostics and early detection. As I mentioned, there's a huge focus on spatial histology as well, spatial pathology, but blood-based tests, what we call liquid biopsies were discussed. We discussed a lot about how to better interrogate tissue from biopsies and look at not only the genomics of the tissue, but the types of cells that have infiltrated the tumor and begin to annotate the tumor so we can determine its vulnerabilities. And then finally, we had a group that discussed medical records, looking at ICD-10 codes and patients' natural history and their treatment. And this made use of very large data sets to look at your likelihood of developing cancer in your lifetime. So, as I said, we met on May 3rd. The goal is to fund dream teams, looking at genomics, proteomics, metabolomics, looking at digital pathology and other technologies, medical records, wearables, and we had AI experts join us. Ultimate goal is to have low-cost tests that are available at point of care, and so that we can also address health disparities. It's not possible for everyone to just go to a comprehensive cancer center. This has to get to the community and even primary care physicians as well. And then there was a special treat. Bruce Ratner has been writing about this and has been researching this over the past 7 or 8 years. And his book was about to come out and in fact was published yesterday. And we had the benefit of having him join our conference, and I had a fireside chat with him. You can see me on the right, where we talked about what his book is teaching, that early detection can in fact save lives. And I had the privilege of also attending the book signing of the New York Times building, which he built. He's a real estate developer, well known in New York. He's rebuilt a lot of Brooklyn, including the Barclays Center, and is the owner of the Nets. Really looking at it from the non-scientist side, just looking at the use of education, media, advocacy, and patient navigation to help patients afflicted with cancer to be able to get aggressive treatment when it's needed. So I'll pause there and just take questions.
So what was the greatest outcome from your AI? I guess that we had an AI speaker earlier today, and he was saying that when you get to a quantum level of AI, it's going to just be so much faster.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that diagnosis will work faster, but how do people make money from having better cancer diagnostics, right? Because historically, diagnostics haven't been great revenue producers. Any thoughts?
So diagnostics are low margin products. You're quite right. The industry is, the pharmaceutical industry will not do this. Pharmaceutical industry is designed to make expensive treatments to treat mostly late stage disease. And it's just not that successful. So we need to be the honest broker of this and work with diagnostic companies. Many are emerging. And to make this low margin business reimbursable and part of the cost of care, improving the entire medical ecosystem. AI is going to develop the algorithm, how to better be, this is a probability game. If you have a diagnosis, the probability of you dying from that disease is knowable. And that is the value proposition, that if we have a healthier population, reduce cancer deaths. I should tell you that we expect to have 600,000 deaths in 2024, and that number is growing with the growing population and younger patients getting diagnosed with cancer. So the overall society has a vested interest in making sure that we can keep people at work, healthier, productive, and not dying of cancer prematurely.
Julian, is the data that half of all men over 60 will develop cancer and one-third of all women?
That is correct. And that's in the book as well. Prostate cancer is the bugaboo for men, and women will get a similarly, typically breast cancer, colorectal cancer for women.
Right. And so, so we're talking about different cancer treatments and also about the correlation with obesity, because I think that, there's some correlation with that. And
there are three bad factors in the determinants of cancer: obesity, alcohol, and smoking. We've dealt with smoking. It was actually a public campaign showing the power of media. We've reduced, there are about 28 million smokers now in the United States, so less than 10% of the country smoking. But obesity is a huge cofactor. And now we have drugs like Ozempic, and we're seeing, we don't know where that will lead us to, and we don't know the risk factors for long-term treatment for the GLP-1 agonists. And then alcohol is alcohol. Alcohol is never recommended except to be happy.
Right. So then, there's behavioral changes, and I'm not sure, where you guys come in on in terms of that from a, it seems like there's protocols and policies and procedures which should be overarching because the amount of spend by the government on all this is so massive, but you don't see those happening, right? Or you don't even see, I don't think you see education at the lowest levels talking about just this type of healthcare.
That's absolutely correct. And it's something that Bruce talked about very passionately. The NCI's budget's about $7 billion. Keytruda, the biggest cancer selling drug from Merck, sold $25 billion last year. The amount of money that goes to cancer prevention and early detection is $600 million. So you can see that it's a very lopsided use of capital. But this is our society. And the only way to make up for it is through education. And we as part of the entertainment industry, we have the bully pulpit. We have over $200 million of donated media and PSAs that we can begin to appeal to the general public. I should also give a shout out to our founders. These are 9 brave women, including Sherry Lansing, who's very well known in LA, was in the entertainment world, running Paramount Studios, and Katie Couric, who also was a founder, and she's done an enormous service for colorectal cancer screening. In fact, even on the Today Show, when she was an anchor, had her own colorectal, her own colonoscopy videotaped. So there's a lot of work to do, and part of Stand Up to Cancer's challenge is to raise hundreds of millions of dollars to devote to the early detection and improvement of interception approaches like vaccines.
Right. And it's all very interesting and important, Julian. So how can we help you? And I mean, I know we've thrown around having an executive committee focused around you because we have so many family offices on the East Coast and West Coast. But what are the steps that people can take to get involved and assist?
So this is the kind of investing that Norm Friedland is advising us, and he's on the. I see him on the video as well. What we need is family offices to allocate a portion of their investment for an impact fund. The return on investment is you go to heaven, essentially. And we have to live in a society where we value health, and we invest in health.
Right. And for the impact fund aspect of it, when do you think there'll be some documents available on something like that? Or
so I have just signed it. It's not yet on our website, which we're rebuilding, but it's available upon request for sure. We don't have really any particular projects. I'm working with 5 or 6 different companies and clinical researchers in academic settings to try to aggregate future royalties. So this we should have done at the outset. We were a little too conservative when we set up Stand Up to Cancer, but having been in industry all my life, I was able to get through our board, and this impact fund will eventually fund Stand Up to Cancer.
right. So, and just, we've had executive committees for many not-for-profits, and we're hoping to form one with you guys. And so if people in the audience, we're going to reach out to the 300 people who are registered for this event, people online and here and at the dinner party tonight. And we'll see who has an interest, but we hope to work with you. And also, can you just explain, Stand Up to Cancer is based in LA, but you are where?
I'm currently in Boston, so it's the center of the biomedical industry is Boston. We have over 1,000 biotech companies and pharma companies here, and of course our famous Mass General, Dana-Farber institutions, and many other institutions that really form a nexus of great research. But our research is all over the country. Our special sauce is great peer review of the research. We fund the best research, and we're active, very active reviewers, such that we guide the research to better outcomes. So our batting average is better than your typical NIH grant system.
Fantastic. Listen, Julian, thank you so much.